Good evening and welcome to Pop Astro Live. I'm 1 minute late, and that's because inexplicably the clock on the microwave is 3 minutes slow. So we shall let people join the feed, and in the meanwhile, we shall play our Join Us advert. So if you join before the October, you can have 2 years, up to 2 years at our regular price. But never mind me trying to fumble my way through it. Wouldn't you rather hear it from somebody with much, much more prestige than me?
When I first started being interested in astronomy, it was just a question of looking up at the night sky, and it is spectacular even if you don't know what you're looking at. But at some point, very quickly, you decide that you want to know more, and the more you know, the more wonderful it gets. SPA has been helping people into astronomy to understand what they're looking at for more than 50 years.
As Brian says, the SPA is a great way to start or accelerate your astronomical adventure. We spoke to our new president, Professor Andrew Coates. Why should people join the SPA?
Well, the SPA is really important to join. It's probably the best society for entry-level astronomers in the UK. And there are many benefits. There's, of course, the magazine. It's great for young stargazers. My colleague Lucy is the chief stargazer.
We have a packed section for the junior stargazer.
Hello, I'm Lucy Green, I'm Chief Stargazer, and it's my role to help you all enjoy the fun of astronomy.
If you want to make new Astro friends, our interactive chat show is the ideal place.
Then you just float, and it's like that feeling when you're just floating in a pool.
There are so many reasons to join the SPA. What will yours be?
Strongly recommend, if you want to learn a bit more, you join the SPA. I'll go to the website popastro.com.
So you've heard it from us. So plug the mug, plug the mug, plug the mug, plug the mug. Guess what's in this one? I've got stars in my eyes, actually. I've got stars in my eyes. No, it's a ring light. I've got stars on my hat. I've got stars on my necklace. I've got stars on my jumper. And oh my gosh, there's not enough room here to show this. I'm attaining peak cosmic. I've got stars on my legs as well. And you can also drink some stars with our wonderful mugs and wonderful Pop Astro merch available in the Pop Astro shop. So there we go. That should keep Robin and Paul quiet for a week. There we go. Very, very good. So start sharing the video now. It helps immensely with our algorithms. Because if a video is active within its first couple of minutes, it's warm. Hey, we've just had an amazing sunset here on Anglesey. Hey, harvest moon last night. Did you see it? Did you go out and mow your corn down or harvest your barley? I hope so. I hope we were all working late through the night, harvesting whatever we were out there harvesting. In fact, it was still going strong, the harvest moon, I think about 5 a.m. when I woke up with inexplicable insomnia this morning. Beautiful. So I hope your fields are nice and bare and ready for the lean winter months ahead. So, okay, we have got this evening, there's an ISS pass rudely interrupting the middle of the show, and it's pretty much going to go right down the middle of the sky. So thank you, Paul, for reminding me of the ISS pass. I think because it's a clear night, I might go out and try and watch it. And I think I'll let you off the hook. For 3 minutes, we can all go out and wave at the ISS. And it's going to be at about 8:45, I think. So yeah, if you're in Shrewsbury, for example, it will pass just south of Cygnus. So that's great, isn't it? So, look who's here. He'll be with you in a minute. Oh, and I never showed you what was in my mug. This thing. Actually, it looks like an everlasting gobstopper. It's, what's it called? A fiddle cube. A fidget cube? A fidget spinner. It's actually really, really, really good. And I've got several of them now. I've got a heinous amount of nervous energy. These are not for sale in the Pop Astro shop, but I just thought I'd point out, if you are a twiddler like me, that thing is fantastic, but it just doesn't look so good when you're on camera with it. So I'll put it over there and I'll twiddle a loose thread on my jumper or something. Okay, our fantastic guest tonight. We loved him so much last week that he's back on this week, reintroducing astronomer Tom Boles. Tom will be talking about Equinox and the history of this perfectly well-balanced day. I have been in the sea today and I have been balancing myself. I love Equinox. I was about to say something that is very illegal on Pop Astro Live. Am I allowed to say it? Am I allowed to say it? There's my microphone. I'm sorry. I'm a Libran. You didn't hear that from me, but I am quite a well-balanced, charming and social individual. And I've been in the sea today. I'm balancing because Equinox from space looks so beautiful. It's like the Terminator just runs down the middle of the planet and it's great. Actually, do you like my new warm color this evening? I have got, this is hard to show. I'm tipping you right. Oh, you can't see it. I've got a ring light. It's a beast. You can see it in my glasses. It's absolutely massive. And it's got a white filter on it. And down at the bottom of the box today, I found like these plastic orange filters to put over it. So in fact, just let me turn it down a little bit because I can see my face is saturated. Let me just turn the old light down a little bit. Oh, come on. Where's the twiddle? Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, because I mean, you've told you I've got to have a fidget cube. I get very hyperactive after doing the show and I don't sleep well. And usually the day after doing the show is a complete write-off. And it's only just dawned on me that I've got one of the most powerful LEDs you can possibly imagine in my face for an hour and a half every Tuesday night. So I've put an orange filter on it. I look kind of like I'm under a sodium street lamp. Not so good for astronomy, but very good probably for helping my body believe it's sunset. We've got a runaway amount of comments here, 13. Let's have a look. Greeting from Kathy and the Ragdolls. Is my mic off again? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I hope you can hear me. Evening, Vicky and the wonderful Cosmo. I think that should be the other way around. Evening, the wonderful Cosmo and Vicky. Good evening, Starstruck Vicky. Thank you. Oh, this hat has got a really lovely tail attached to it. It was from our antique collector in Frodsham, Roy's Relics, the shop. It's actually a chauffeur hat that I've customized, but poor Roy passed away a couple of years ago, and it's my little memento of this amazing. He was a detectorist. Have you seen Detectorist? It's one of the nicest series ever. And what's the input there? Good evening, Vicky and team. Hi. Hello to my fellow space homies. That is from Kiri. Hello, Kiri. I know you're watching this from somewhere in the States. Evening, Vicky. Shh. Not allowed to talk about that. Yes, loud and clear. You can hear me without a microphone. Heresy, don't believe in that rubbish. But yes, I know you Sagittarians can be skeptical. Hello, star seekers. We've got stars in our eyes, stars in our mugs, stars in our hat, and now I am getting really hot because I'm wearing 2 jumpers and I've just had a massive cup of tea. Greetings, it's Dexa. Hi, everybody. Nice to see some of my friends from other social networks joining. Okay, so Tom is going to be talking about the Equinox, as I mentioned. He's also, in the second half, going to be telling us about life on board a cruise ship as resident lecturer. We're going to find out about giving lectures in a storm. Tom met the astronaut who repaired Hubble and what happens when you fall asleep in one of Tom's lectures. Does he draw a moustache and glasses on you? We're just going to have to find out. Also, Tom is going to be taking part in Astronomer's Question Time. So if you've got any burning astronomy questions, like what flavour is Jupiter? Just ask Tom and he's bound to know. Last week, Tom grilled Cosmo with supernova questions. This week, he'll be asking Cosmo deep questions about the cosmos. Will our favourite mute sloth answer correctly? If not, Cosmo, you are on a one-way ticket to catch up with Oumuamua. Right, let's get Tom on. Can't hear. Tom, can you hear me now? Maybe the sounds come back on. I'm going to get you on right now, Tom. Hey!
Hello?
Hi, Tom. Can you hear me?
Vicky, can you hear me? Because I can't hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Right. So I think we're going to need to do this sort of just with me chatting on my own, and you give me some prompts when you want me to start, okay?
Let me just put something on the banners. Right.
Okay, I can't lip read either.
Hey, Tom, can you turn up your speakers? Let me just put that on.
Yeah, I know. I've been downstairs. Everybody can see and hear me. Yeah, but I can't hear you, Vicky. Nothing's coming through at this end on audio.
Can you turn up your speakers?
Yeah, I'm down at the bottom. I'm pressing audio. I'm testing the speakers, and absolutely nothing is coming through.
Oh, no.
Hello? Nope, I can't hear a thing.
Okay.
No, but I can see my microphone working, so I know you can hear me.
Yeah.
Right? So will I start talking about the equinox, shall I? Good. Okay, right. Let's do that. This is really flying by the seat of your pants, isn't it, eh? Never mind. It's exciting. Right. The equinox. The equinox happens 2 times a year. It happens in the spring, in the autumn. They're called the vernal equinox and the autumnal equinox. And it happens when the sun is about to cross the equator on the Earth. In the springtime, the sun is moving north and it crosses the equator. And in the autumn, it moves south and it crosses the equator. So altogether, okay, sorry. Right. I'll moderate my dulcet tones. Right. So what we need to imagine is that the Earth's equator gets extended out into a plane, right up into the celestial starlit sky. And that's the celestial equator. And in the spring, when the sun crosses the equator, the geocentric longitude is said to be 0 degrees. And when it comes down the other way, it's 180 degrees. So that's exactly. If anybody can do this, Tom can. Yeah, thank you for that. Right. The equinox comes from the Latin, which is equius nox, which means equal of the night. And it's really at the time of the year when the day and the night are both equal. So in theory, the day is 12 hours long and the night is 12 hours long. But that is just the theory. In practice, they're just approximately equal. And there are a whole lot of reasons for that. Right, one of them is the angular diameter of the sun. It's just over 0.5 degree in diameter. Another one is refraction, because the atmosphere refracts the sun. And the other thing is that at the time of the equinoxes, the length of the day is changing very, very rapidly. And that really makes it difficult. If I give you an example, in autumn 2020, the autumnal equinox happened on September the 22nd, and it happened at 13:31 Universal Time. And this year it's going to happen tomorrow, September the 22nd, at 19:21 Universal Time. And next year it's even going to be worse. It's going to happen about an hour after midnight at 01:14. And so that means that after the equinox has already happened, there's a whole day of time, almost 23 hours passing, that allows the day length to change. And that really complicates things. Now, we look at the weather forecast and things that we see on television. They define the sunrise. I suppose this is the sun now instead of the Earth. They define the sunrise as the point where the sun just gets up above the horizon. Yeah. The trouble with that is the equinox, the astronomical time, really is looking for the midpoint of the sun. And it's the midpoint of the sun crossing the equator that defines the equinox. So here we are. We have got an object which is 0.5 degree in diameter. So there's roughly 16 degrees that the sun will be breaking the horizon before the midpoint does. And there's also something like 34 degrees of refraction where the atmosphere refracts the sun. So the sum of that roughly is that by the time the sun actually breaks the surface, it's actually 50 arc minutes below the horizon. So what's the effect of that? The effect of that is that both the night is shorter and the day is longer. Just think about that. Although the sun breaks the horizon at midpoint, 12 hours and 12 hours, the actual light is hitting the surface of the Earth earlier in the day and later at night. So that means that, you know, when we look at, rather than the sun rising at 0600 in the morning and setting 1800, which it should do, in March, it can be something like 6 or 7 minutes earlier. And in September, it can be 7 or 8 minutes later. So the whole thing gets quite messy and quite complicated. And to add it to that, just to add a little bit of confusion to it, the sun is much bigger than the Earth. So actually, in fact, as the rays come down to illuminate the Earth, it can illuminate greater than 180 degrees on the surface of the Earth. So that's another complication to add into the formula. So, you know, the whole thing is really quite messy when you think about it. I mean, if you think about it in the purest of terms, it's fine. But when you actually think about it in a practical way, then it gets a little bit distorted. And, you know, we talk about the vernal equinox when the sun is moving above, going up the way over the equator. But we're in the northern hemisphere. Now, the people who are in the southern hemisphere, it's still going above the equator, but it's their autumn. So they're having effectively an autumnal equinox at the same time as we're having a vernal equinox. Now that complicates things. Okay, sometimes in the southern hemisphere, they do call the autumnal equinox the vernal equinox, but it's not really very satisfactory to do that. So people over the years have tried to come up with some sort of hemispheric neutral names. It's a bit like, you know, this principle of inclusivity that we've got. You know, we try to include everybody into the equation. And some of the names that have been suggested is like the southward equinox, the northward equinox. You know, that name came out of the mid-20th century, but it hasn't really caught on very much. They've been talking about the March equinox and the September equinox. Well, that works too, but, you know, it's nobody's really agreeing on what these equinoxes should be called, particularly if you're jumping from one hemisphere to the other. So, you know, there are better names, but they're not universally used. And not all cultures use a solar-based calendar. For example, the Islamic and the Hebrew calendars are not solar-based. So that causes it a little bit of problems. The vernal equinox, the spring equinox, now that's the start of the new year for the Assyrians and for the Hindus and for the Persian and Iranian calendars. Of course, the ancient Greek calendars used all equinoxes, or both equinoxes and solstices to start the year off. So that was really quite a mess. So when we look at the poles are even more different. There are 4 days during the year when both the North Pole and the South Pole are both in complete daylight. Now that sounds odd, but you know, if we imagine that the Earth again is tilted on its axis, and the autumnal equinox happens when the tilt is, if you like, not pointing away from us, not pointing towards us, but pointing at right angles to us. Yeah. And that tells us that the solar terminator is vertical. And when the solar terminator is vertical, and the fact that the sun is a lot bigger than the Earth means that the light can get round the top of the Earth and round the bottom of the Earth, and both poles can be in sunlight at the same time. So there we are. If we look at sunrise in the South Pole, the sunrise in the South Pole happens, well, this year it will happen on September the 20th. It's 1608 Universal Time. And sunset on the North Pole will happen on September the 24th at 22:30 Universal Time. So there's a challenge for us. And of course, when we're at the vernal equinox and we're at the autumnal equinox, it's another good time for astronomers. We speak about the first point of Aries and the first point of Libra. But really, no, we all know the constellations have shifted. So the first point of Aries is really in Pisces, and the first point of Libra is in Virgo. So the whole thing's really messed up again. So it doesn't really work out. But astrologers don't seem to get too worried about that. So they just carry on with the predictions quite normally. And then there was this mechanical device discovered off the island of Antiocheia in Greece in 1901. And it's a absolutely magical piece of hardware, and actually predicts the equinoxes. It predicts eclipses. There's a theory that at one time it might have been able to predict the position of the planets, well, at least the 5 planets that they knew at the time. But you know, those mechanisms, that part of the mechanism is missing. Although the researchers are saying that it'd be very easy for it to still exist, although they haven't found it yet. And it'd be very easy to fit it onto the existing mechanism as it stands today. So there we are. We've got the Earth. It's the solar terminators vertical to the equator at the time of the equinoxes. And that really means that it can affect geostationary satellites, because at the time when the geostationary satellites are overhead, they're exactly overhead at almost the same place that the sun is. So we start to get radio interference from the sun interfering with the geostationary satellites, and it takes bigger dishes to get the signal down before it actually breaks up. So the bigger dish gives higher resolution, and it manages to separate it. So the signal's only lost for less time. And if you've got a big enough dish, of course, you won't lose a signal at all. The opposite's true. When the geostationary satellite's at the dark end of the Earth, in the Earth's shadow, then the geostationary satellite is very much dependent on its batteries to operate, because there's no sunlight hitting its solar panels, and it's just managing to survive on the life of its batteries. So that's it. That's most of the interesting stuff that I've managed to figure out and tell you about the equinox. I saw somebody else was mentioning something about the Chinese calendar flashed up in the screen. I don't know anything about the Chinese calendar. I imagine it would affect it, because they seem to. It seems to do it sort of based on. Is it phases of the moon? I'm not sure, but anyway, I imagine it would affect that as well. So there we are. That is the Equinox for you. Well, thank you very much for that silent applause, Vicky. Very much appreciated. So what would you like me to do now? Would you like me to go on? Oh, 5 minutes. Okay, I'll give you 5 minutes. There we go.
Okay, great. Oh, do you know what? My housemate Johnny just said to me, he said, have any of these shows actually ever gone perfectly right? And I said, there's only ever been one in, oh my God, it's coming up to 18 months I've been doing the show, and there's only about one or two, very few shows where everything has gone perfectly. Fancy having a guest who can't hear us, so he's just going to have to sit there in the green room. Tom will be back with us in a minute to regale us with tales of life as a lecturing astronomer on board a cruise ship, and he was going to have some questions for Cosmo. I'm sure we'll be able to figure out a way to do that. Let's check the comments. Thanks, Tom. Great info. I know. How beautiful is Equinox? It's just such a lovely... Let me see if I can show you. How do I do this? Share. Let me see if I can do this. Oh, I don't think I can do it. I can't do it. There's a picture of the Earth from space at Equinox time, and the Terminator's just perfectly down the middle. We're going to have an ISS pass in a minute. I might go out and have a little look, or that would just be really weird just to leave a blank screen while everybody goes out. I've not seen the ISS for months. Very instructive. Cute. I still got the spinning top that you gave me out of a Christmas cracker. I have, honestly. Vicky, why not speak to Tom by phone? Text me. Text me. Oh, hang on a minute. Because it might just get a bit messy. It might just get a bit messy. Good suggestion, Catherine. There'll be a big delay and it might crash our internet. Tom's back on in a minute. Brilliant presentation. Now even more confused about equinoxes. Yeah, there was a lot of it. That wasn't a straight down the middle advice. Hello, Vicky. Hello, Tom. Lots of things I have learned. Great. Okay. So, yeah, doesn't half throw you when your guest can't hear you. Right, let's do this. Scroll through everything. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Let's scroll. Here we go. Let's get back on some familiar territory. Let's get rid of that scrolling banner. There's a lot of buttons to press, you know. There are so many buttons to press on this screen. And let's press that button. And now let's press this. He's been flying around the solar system, or maybe a bit further. But to the casual observer, he's a mithering, pestering sloth. Where have you been to this week, Cosmo? Cosmo, where have you been? 3 clues. Only answer after the clues. Cosmo over and out. Now, this is not a chance for you to show off your astronomy knowledge. This is a little brain teaser for astronomers to have a little think. Have a little think. Cosmo gets really, really upset if you go off early and answer the questions early. He bites my face and the wounds have been known to fester. So please don't, because I quite like my beautiful skin as it is. Tom could use his phone to see and... Pictionary. Oh my gosh. Oh, we've got no Eleni this evening or Sonia, I'm afraid. So, yeah, all the wheels have fallen off other than me. There's one wheel on the wagon. Half a wheel if you count just Cosmo. Tom could use his phone to see and hear me on YouTube. Catherine, it's a great idea, but there's just a real pesky delay. And I think there'll just be feedback. So, Cosmo, where have you been? What's that? It was a really boring holiday. It's such a boring place that I forgot this place existed. Okay, I'm going to read out 3 clues. You've got to listen to them, wait for a second, and then just type your answers in the chat. Okay. Cosmo, he said it's a very boring holiday, not unlike going to the local ice rink for a week. That would be really boring, wouldn't it? Well, the one jaunty thing that this place has got is You need to wear your sunglasses. That's why Cosmo's got little closed eyes, because he didn't wear them. We are on one of the most reflective surfaces on the solar system, and it's not my whitening tooth, I tell you. Okay. It was discovered by Giovanni Domenico Cassini. I didn't know that was his middle name. In 1684. And it has... Oh, my. Hang on a minute. That's a rubbish clue. That'll serve me right for cutting and pasting off Wikipedia. It's got the lowest density of all the major moons. Actually, that's not too bad. Sorry, I lied. It's got the lowest density of all the major moons in the solar system. So it's the most reflective surface. It was discovered by Cassini in 1684, and it has the lowest density of all the major moons because it's made of water ice with just a small fraction of rock. Cosmo, where have you been? He said it was so boring that I don't even think there's any missions planned there. No one even knows the name of this moon. It's just the boring place. It's boring. To me, it's boring anyway. Where do you reckon we've been? Are the answers going to start flooding on through? Dun, dun, dun. I knew you'd get it all wrong. I knew you'd get it all wrong. I knew you'd get it all wrong. ISS should appear over 8:46. Got about another 10 minutes or so. I knew you'd get it wrong. I knew you'd get it wrong. I knew Cosmo knew you'd get it wrong. That's why he's flummoxing you. Vicky is more than enough to get. I'm a force of nature and the universe. Oh, thank you. Enceladus. We knew you'd get it wrong. We knew you'd get it wrong. We knew you'd get it wrong. We knew they'd get it wrong. We knew you'd get it wrong. Enceladus, no. I'm sorry, Chris Jupiter. It's not. It's such a boring place. No one knows its name. Okay, sunglasses at the ready. We're on one of the most reflective surfaces of the solar system, discovered by Cassini in 1684. It's got the lowest density of all the major moons in the solar system, indicating it's made of water ice with just a small fraction of rock. Cosmo, have we flummoxed the popular astronomers? I'm going to give you 5 more minutes. Not 5 more minutes. 5 more seconds. 5, 3, 1, 2, 4. No one got it right, Cosmo? What do you think? Have we beat the astronomers, Cosmo? I think we beat the astronomers. We beat the astronomers. There, Cosmo. Oh, Ian got it right. Well done. Yeah. Tethys, the world's most boring place in the solar system. It's the most reflective moon in the solar system with a visual albedo of 1.229. This very high albedo is the result of the sandblasting of particles from Saturn's E ring, a faint ring composed of small water ice particles generated by Enceladus's south polar geysers. So there you go. Earth. Well done, Jim. I'm afraid you're wrong. I'm not Europa. All in I. I'm afraid you're all wrong. It's the moon that doesn't ever get mentioned. It's the moon that doesn't get mentioned, Cosmo. We've made it famous tonight, though. Don't worry. Don't worry, Cosmo. Okay. Oh, Tethys is the one that's got a leading brighter edge by 15% than the trailing one. So that does make it mildly. Why is it boring? It was boring to Cosmo. Cosmo said it was boring because there were no beaches there. He said the nighttime entertainment was really rubbish and the local cuisine wasn't very good. I find it fascinating, personally. You got me out of that one nicely there, didn't you, Cosmo? Right, okay. Right, we're going to go back to the astronomer who can't hear us. Tom. Can you hear us? No.
I've got you again. Good.
Can you hear us?
What am I doing now? Am I doing cruise stories? Yes? Good. Right. Well, I mentioned the last time I was on that one of the things that I did was to give lectures on cruise ships. And one of my favorite ships I've ever been on has been the Queen Mary 2. But strictly speaking, the Queen Mary 2 isn't a cruise ship. It's an ocean-going liner. And just a little known fact, the difference between an ocean-going liner and a cruise ship is the distance that the bridge is away from the bow. So if you look at a typical ship, the bridge is set well away back from the pointy end if it's an ocean-going liner. And if it's a cruise ship, the bridge is right up, almost pushing against the pointy end. So that means that, you know, the Queen Mary 2 does several transatlantic voyages, many transatlantic voyages per year. And it can get quite rough at times. And you need to adjust when you're lecturing on a ship when the thing's rolling. And there was once I was on the ship when there was 30-foot waves, just south of Newfoundland, and the ship was rolling from side to side. So, I mean, I don't normally stand at a lectern. I like to walk around and chat and move around the stage. And I was standing at sort of one end of the stage and the ship listed, and I went running right across to the other side, and I almost managed to stop just in time before I fell off the edge. And then the ship tilted the other way, and I ran the other way. And as I went flying by the lectern, I just grabbed a hold of it. And thankfully, the lecterns are all fixed to the floor. And I said to the audience at the time, you know, this is a really difficult venue. And tonight's the first venue I've ever come across. It was more difficult than that one. So here we go. Good fun. The auditorium in the Queen Mary is magnificent. It holds 400 people. And most lecturers realize that when the weather's sunny and it's nice and there's no wind, the lectures tend to be, well, less well attended. But if it's rainy and windy and miserable, you can get a whole full house. And there's a saying amongst lecturers that on a rainy, windy day, this 400-seat auditorium is capable of sleeping 400 people because they come in the doors and they don't really listen. But with one of my lectures, one man was sitting 3 rows from the front, and he fell fast asleep. Not only did he fall fast asleep, he snored. And you know, the sound in the auditorium was really high quality. The acoustics are great, and everybody in the auditorium heard this guy snoring. So I thought, what am I going to do? So I said to the audience, you know, I've been known to have this effect on people. Because there was a big roar went up when that happened. This guy still didn't wake up. So I said to the audience, I said, well, let's applaud and pretend it's all over. And spontaneously, not only did they applaud, but they all got up on their feet and applauded. And they sat down again. And this poor guy woke up at this point, and he stood up and he sort of looked around, got panicky. He went to leave, and then he sat down again. And but what I did forget, I forgot that the lectures were being recorded. They record all the lectures aboard ship, and then what they do is they play them over and over in a sort of cycle on one of the TV channels in the staterooms. And so everybody had the pleasure of watching this guy standing up and sitting down and snoring during the lecture. So that was quite an interesting story. But I guess if there's one set of lectures that stands out and I enjoyed most, it was a time when I was on the same venue with Jeff Hoffman. Now, Jeff Hoffman was one of the shuttle astronauts, and he helped fix the Hubble Space Telescope with Story Musgrave. He was on STS-61 in 1993. And the plan was that Jeff was I was going to come on first. I was going to be the warm-up guy, and I was going to tell the audience about my 100 favorite Hubble images. And then after I'd done that and they got warmed to the idea of Hubble, Jeff would come on and he'd tell them how he fixed it. Now, Jeff was a real gentleman, and he came up to me and he said, Tom, this doesn't make a lot of sense. He said, it'd be better if I came on first and told them how I fixed the telescope, and then you came in and tell us what the astronomers did with the telescope after it was fixed. So it's logical. It sounded good. So we went to the cruise director and suggested that to him. So he swapped the programs around. So Jeff gave his talk, which was excellent, described how he fixed the telescope. And he was telling about his colleagues on the shuttle. And there was a Catherine was helped him. And there was a guy called Tom and a guy called Story Musgrave, the guy who actually went out and fitted the camera in itself. So I never thought anything else of it. But when the time of my presentation came, I walked into the auditorium, and there must have been about 500 people in the auditorium. The seats were full. People were sitting up the aisles. There was 3 rows of steps leading down to the stage, and every step was full of people sitting on it. There were all the back in front of the projection room was full, and they were even sitting on the floor in front of the seats in front of the stage. And must have been at least 500 people there. And I sort of, that's weird. I normally get pretty good audiences, but I've never had this number before. So I gave my talk and told them all about my 100 favorite Hubble images. And as is usually at the end of a talk, because the talks run in quite quick sequence, there's only 10 minutes between talks, you can't take questions. So you suggest to the people there, well, meet me in the cafe or in the bar afterwards, and you can come and ask me questions. So I turned up in the cafe after the talk, and there was between 50 and 100 people there in the cafe to ask me questions. And normally I get 3, 4, 5 people brave enough to come along and ask a question, but the place was packed. And I soon found out they were saying to me, well, Tom, how many shuttle missions have you flown? I said, pardon? Well, you know, Jeff told us that Kath and yourself and Story Musgrave, because he'd mentioned the name Tom, had helped fix the Hubble Space Telescope. So you must have done more than one shuttle trip to be able to be trained to be doing that. And I had to explain to them that I'm actually a different Tom. I've never been on a shuttle. And but I can put it down as being the most well-attended lecture that I've ever had on a cruise ship ever. So that was magic. Another thing that I like to do, I was given this talk on cosmology, and I just sort of finished doing the stuff about, you know, the size of the universe, where the end of the universe, where the observable universe ended. And I played this song by Katie Melua. I don't know if anybody's heard it. It's called 9 Million. There are 9 million bicycles in Beijing. And when she gets to the second verse, she actually sings a little bit about the stuff that I was talking about. And what she sings is, we are 12 billion light years from the edge. That's a guess. No one can ever say it's true, but I know that I will ever be with you. Now, I know that she had already had some criticism for that, because the really sort of strict astronomers amongst us sort of say, well, it's not 12 billion light years. At the time, it's 13.7 billion light years. It's been reviewed a little bit since then. And that's a guess. So, but it's not a guess, because we've used the COBE satellite, the EMAP satellite, we've used the Planck satellite, and we used the Hubble Space Telescope to check out the Type 1a supernovae, and we're pretty confident what the size of the universe is. So we can say pretty confidently, that, at least within limits, that it's true. And the last line of the verse said, and I know that I will always be with you. And, you know, this is quite a nice romantic song. She's singing it to her boyfriend or lover, or whoever it is, and she's comparing facts in the universe. A fact like there's 9 million bicycles in Beijing, and saying nobody can argue with that, and nobody can argue with the fact that I will always be with you. And, you know, based on current sort of statistics of how long marriages last for, that was probably the least confident of all the statements she made. But then I found this other record that not another record, she'd reworked that particular verse. And this is what she sung. She said, "We are 13.7 billion light years from the edge of the observable universe." And that's a good estimate. With well-defined error bars and with the available information, I predict that I will always be with you. And there was a big, I played both of these in the lecture room, and there was a big cheer up. But, you know, the moral of the story here is that let artists be artists and let scientists be scientists, and don't mix the two of them together, because the two of them, well, I won't say they're incompatible, but sometimes the artists get the wording better than the scientists do. And it's better sometimes not to be technically accurate, but get the words and the music flowing a lot better. So, yep, I've had a good time on cruise ships, and I haven't done it for a while, and I haven't done it for over 5 years, but I might go back and do it again. I'm very tempted to try it. So, Vicky, I might very well try that. So. Oh. Are you going to play it then?
I'll play it again for you, yeah.
Right. I'll wait and let you play it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So it turns out that Tom is the song's going to say it all. If you saw last week's show, Tom is one of the most decorated and celebrated supernova spotters of all time. And I take umbrage to the fact that science and music shouldn't be mangled up together, because I wrote a song about it. Although I do veer wildly onto the more creative than scientific side myself. So where is that song hiding? Oh, am I going to be able to do this? This is a tricky one. Share video file. Does it still live in my files? Supernova song. Here it is. You can have this. There's one every second in the universe. A cataclysmic boom, both the death and birth. And you want to know who spotted more than any individuals? Roll out the star-spangled carpet for astronomer Tom Boles. It takes 2 minutes to check an image with 500,000 searched. That's 17,000 hours of squinting to see a supernova glinting. He's the supernova spotter. The secrets of the universe are scrawled in his jotter. And when they're gone, they may leave neutron stars or black holes. So let's hear it for the number one spotter, astronomer Tom Boles. Supernova. There we go.
You know, when I look at these old pictures of me, I realise how dark my hair was back then, and look how much it's changed now. Years taking their toll on me. Never mind.
So, oh my gosh, right. I'm communicating through banners here now. So create a banner. Tom, have you got questions for Cosmo? Tom, have you got questions for Cosmo? I've got to put a question mark on. Please don't shout at me.
Yes, I've got questions. Well, I don't know. I really thought about questions for Cosmo this week, and I had a really hard job trying to get good questions for him, because he was really clever last week and he could answer all the questions that I could possibly ask him. So listen, Cosmo, if you don't mind, what I've done this week is I've asked a guest to join me to help me ask questions. And even Vicky doesn't know about this, so this is going to surprise her. So I've asked my friend Astro to come on the show and answer the questions.
Wow,
And he's really quite he's quite a shy guy.
Oh.
And come on, Astro, get up. Come on. Say hello to Vicky.
Hi.
Say hello to Cosmo.
This is
Now, Astro is a cosmologist.
Wow,
and Astro is going to ask Cosmo some questions. Mm-hmm. Right, what's the first question you're going to ask him? Yeah?
Cosmo is all on.
What caused the cosmic microwave background? Okay.
Well, Cosmo is answering.
Answer that then, Cosmo.
Cosmo is answering in his own.
Can you answer it?
He's answering. He's got the answer sent to you. There we go. There we go.
The universe was full of photons, leptons, and quarks.
Well done.
And then he went through a phase of recombination.
Wow.
Yeah. That's
Wow,
right.
Cosmo, you smart little sloth.
What's that you say, Cosmo? Recombination's a silly word for it. How can it be recombined if they were never combined in the first place?
You tell me,
it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But you're right, Cosmo, it's a silly word.
It is.
And when did all this happen?
When did this happen, Cosmo?
Yeah, when did it happen?
When did all this happen?
370,000 years after the Big Bang.
Oh, spot on, Cosmo. You're so
That
smart.
was a long time ago. And a redshift of 1100. Wow, that's frightening. So why didn't we see the microwave background before then?
Why, Cosmo? Why? Tell us why.
It was caused by Thomson scattering. And the electrons that were free scattered all the photons and didn't let them get out of, didn't let them escape. Oh, that's interesting.
So clever.
What are you saying, Cosmo? What? Helium happened first. Helium, yep, that's right. Helium got made in the universe first before hydrogen, because helium's got a higher energy state. And it now makes up 24% of all the gases in the universe.
Wow, Cosmo.
Amazing.
Amazing.
That's surprising that you know all of this.
He is such a clever little sloth.
Terrific. And then what happens? Then the photons combined with the electrons. Well, that happened earlier on, didn't it? Yeah. So what color do you reckon the microwave background is? Yep, some of it's infrared, and some of it's even in X-rays. In fact, there's a whole host of colors that it would be. But the whole thing's been redshifted by a whole lot. And now it's in the microwave background. So that's why it takes special satellites like WMAP and COBE and Planck to actually find it and see it.
Wow.
So, wow. You've actually broken the back. You're really clever, Cosmo. You know all of these things. And your PhD must be going great.
Professor Cosmo.
So you think it's clever? I think it's clever.
Prof Sloth.
Yeah, definitely clever.
Thank you.
Oh, lovely stuff.
Hey,
good. And you know, they didn't even talk over each other, so we could hear everything that they said quite clearly, didn't we? That was good of them. Yeah. Come on, stop carrying on. Leave them alone.
Right, okay.
Anyway.
If you're just joining us and wondering what the heck is
his hair.
happening,
It's just like the cosmic microwave background. Look.
if you're just joining us and wondering what's happened, it's not only are we corresponding to the medium of soft toys, but Tom can't hear what I'm saying because there's something gone awry somewhere. So, Tom, thank you. Let's just put that in the chat. Tom, thank you. Tom cannot hear a thing. I could say anything about Tom that I wanted to now, like supernovas are silly. and he can't do anything. Tom, good night. Thank you, Tom. Unless anybody's got any questions, let's have a look. Michael Barrett, missing a Steve Tonkin talk at my local astronomy to hear mute puppets communicating with each other. Steve Tonkin is good, but he's not as good as Cosmo. Just watch the ISS over Cumbria. Love the show. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sam. Just got a couple of shots of the ISS and it's probably about 95% now. The full moon is very good. Tom, can you drink tea and Astro ask questions?
No, I've never tried drinking tea and asking Cosmo questions.
Right. Okay.
Oh, you mean and have him talk?
Yeah.
Listen. Well, let's try it.
Go on.
Hello.
Hello.
This is from Astro. Yes. You can't see my lips moving, can you? You can't see my lips moving.
No,
oh, no, I've got it. I know how to do this. Oh, I've got the hang of this. This is easy. Yeah.
Tom, it's been a delight, but we're going to ditch you now because the show is... Bye-bye, Tom. Bye-bye, Tom. See you soon. See you soon. Oh, my God, honestly. Bye-bye, Tom. See you soon. Bye. Check there's no answer questions here. Let's have a look. All right, then. Okay. Whoa. I tell you what, though, when you're wearing multiple layers of mid-season clothing, when it's not really even particularly wintry and something goes wrong, like there's no sound, it's enough to make you sweat through your clothing. I tell you, honestly, bye Tom. He's just so good. And as our Q said earlier, that if anybody can pull us through out of this nosedive, Tom can do it because he's so experienced in lecturing that he can hold his own. Now, I've decanted my usual drink into a stirry night mug, and let me tell you that alcohol-free beer is not very much fun out of a mug. I tried my best and it tastes vile. My body, mind, body and soul think it's a cup of tea, and you put it to your lips and it's flat warm beer with no alcohol in it. So I'll just have to drink it like this so I don't show what brand it is. That's instantly better out of the can. Yeah, thank you, everybody. Right, the show is now coming in at 1 hour. That's what we wanted, because if I go any longer than an hour, my throat tightens up. The laptop really starts to overheat. The file size is unwieldy, and we're in at an hour. So thank you, everybody. Oh, thanks, Sam. That's so sweet. Thank you. That is so sweet. We are looking for contributors. If you know anybody who would like to do a talk or become a regular contributor to the show, please get in touch. Oh, the only product placement I do is through the Stirry Night Mug via the Pop Astro shop. Great. It has been so lovely to have you all along. There's a tribute to Rick Mail on BBC4 at the minute, and being as he's my spiritual soul brother, I'm going to go and watch that. It has been so lovely to have you along. Please join the SPA or rejoin it if you're a lapsed member before the October price increase. The only inflation we like is the inflation of the universe, but we've had to raise our prices slightly. Thank you, everybody. Let's see what Tom's message said. I have no idea what the problem is. Must be my side. Sorry, Tom. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Tom. You were so nice. You were so good. Just let me send that message. Kisses from Cosmo. Kisses from Cosmo. There we go. I love you lot. Many thanks for a fun evening. Thank you so much. Thank you. And Astro Biscuit. Who's Astro Biscuit? See you all. Yeah, this is free. But if you've watched this show more than 3 times and not become an SPA member, I think we'd be very grateful if you would become a member, because somebody's got to keep Cosmo in tickets to far-flung places in the solar system. And it's not me, I tell you. Thank you. And I'm glad you stay. I didn't really. Mind you, Elisa, do you remember when I used to have to go all the way down to that laundrette in the freezing cold? I'm in my own bedroom now. It's meant that we've had to get rid of my double bed and replace it with a single bed so it all fits in. But it's a small price to pay. Look up Astro Biscuit on YouTube. I'll do that, everybody. Good night, everybody. Lots of love to you all. Astral Muppet Show. That is great. Don't let Jim Henson's Creature Workshop see that. They'll be stealing my idea. See you all later. Good night.